Have you ever felt that your tarot readings might be completely missing the mark, and with any new reading, you might be found out as a fraud? There's a name for it. It's called Imposter Syndrome. And guess what? We all have it. Even Albert Einstein had it, not in relation to tarot, but overall. So let me just check on YouTube really quick. I guess my internet doesn't really. Hold on. Please hold the line. Yeah, everything's there. Okay, so imposter syndrome is today's topic. Thanks for joining me for this conversation. My name is Maria. Welcome or welcome back if you've been here before. And so, of course, to talk about this, first, I want to talk about the definition of what imposter syndrome is. According to the dictionary, it says that imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own effort or skills. Or in simple words, you're doubting your math skills. And there are different categories, like 5 types of imposter syndrome, it seems, or at least that's what the internet says. There is the perfectionist, the superhero, the expert, the natural genius, and the soloist. And I think as tarot readers, we kind of fall into the category of perfectionist because we just want to be good. We don't want to let the people down that get the readings from us. And so, yeah, we just want to do a good job. And so the whole perfectionism kind of plays into that. Now, before we get into that, I think one question that is also interesting to look at, but I guess it makes sense if you really think about it. Where does the imposter syndrome even come from? And the easiest answer is our childhood. Everything, the way that we think, the way that we act, all of that goes back to our childhood, how we were raised, how the people who raised us talked to us, talked about us, all that stuff. Like going down the whole trauma unraveling path, you will eventually relate everything back to your childhood. So yeah, it's not something that is a new thing as a grown-up, and it's not just specific to any one thing that you do. It can come up in so many things, and yeah, it goes back to the childhood. So in the tarot sphere, of course, we want to be seen as competent, and the biggest fear that we have, or at least that I have. Oh my God, Ozark Oracle's here. Hi, girl. I haven't seen you in forever. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, the fear of giving a bad reading. I guess that's the most dominant one that, at least for me, that I have when I do a reading. It's not so much when I'm doing readings for myself, because then, I can always say whatever I want to myself in order to justify if I completely draw a blank when I'm looking at the cards, then I can just come back to it later. There's no time pressure. But when I'm actually doing a reading for someone else, specifically when I have a person sitting right in front of me, when I'm doing a face-to-face reading, those are the ones that for some reason are the trickiest. I feel more comfortable in the online space, might be the introvert talking. So yeah, thanks for joining. And in the online space, I guess that kind of takes this element away, because I think what kind of gets me into this fear of whether I'm doing a good job or not is, especially when you have someone sitting in front of you that's not very responsive, when they're just sitting there and they're watching you and they barely give anything away in terms of facial expressions. They're not really chiming in and, like validating the things that you're saying, like, yeah, yeah, I can totally see that. Or sometimes they might even follow up with an explanation of something. And then, of course, on the other hand, there's like the skeptics, for example, that will just sit there and wait until you're done with your reading. And then they might not even really give you a feedback and they will just say thank you and move on. And those are the ones that irritate me the most because then I'm left with a bunch of questions and I'm like, okay, so did that resonate with the person? Did I do a good job? Did I say something wrong? What's happening here? Please tell me something. And yeah, it's in those moments that the imposter syndrome kicks in. Yeah, we all have experienced this from time to time. What drives me crazy is when I get a client who has no questions and closed off energy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those are like, yeah, let's just read what's in the cards. Just tell me. Like, you're the reader. You should know, right? That kind of stuff. Like, no, like if you don't have a question, then how the hell am I supposed to know what you want to know and what's important to you right now? I mean, of course, I can tell you whatever comes up in the cards, but is that really what you want to know? So, yeah, those clients, don't we just love them? No judgment. But yeah, this doesn't exactly help with the fear of wanting to do a good job, and especially when money is involved. I guess it's a little less prominent, this fear, when there's no money involved. But as soon as there's a money exchange, of course, you're providing a service. So you want a satisfied customer, especially if you're doing this in an online space where people give you reviews and other people can see that. So you, of course, want to have satisfied customers to make sure that your reviews don't, go into the basement. Some people come into our shop for a reading and treat us like what I do is circus. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not. Test the psychic. I had that once. I had it, and thankfully, I passed. But yeah, and the skeptic was a policeman of all people, so they're working with evidence and whatever is tangible to them. So getting a tarot reading from uh, someone who believes in the woo-woo stuff and then like proving to them that it works. Yeah, it thankfully it worked. And even him afterwards, like he was not very responsive. It was his girlfriend sitting next to him that was the one validating what I said. So I was thankful that someone did because otherwise I would have just been left with a bunch of questions. And that was when I was still a beginner. Sip, sip, everyone. Yeah, the cards are what they are. I tell them I don't make the rules. That's a good way of seeing it. Okay, so why do we have this imposter syndrome in the first place as tarot readers? I think the biggest thing that I can find listening to other tarot readers, also coming from my own experience, is the lack of credentials. Because unlike other fields of expertise or something, you can't actually go to college or to Hogwarts or anything. Like you cannot really get a master's degree, a diploma, or anything like that from a certified school. You can get, like you can take courses and you can get certificates and do all of that. You can read every tarot book that you can get your hands on, but there's no real way of getting a like government accepted kind of diploma because it's not like a real kind of accepted job in our society. And I think in America, there are even some states, I think Minnesota is one of them, where calling yourself a fortune teller is forbidden by law and you can't actually do that. So you have to be very careful how you phrase that and how you promote yourself because it might be against the law, which is kind of wild to think about it. But I guess in terms of, protecting people from being scammed, I can see why they would do that, but it doesn't help with the people who want to do this as a profession. And I guess the best way, or the most, like, the thing that people would take the most serious, I guess, that I can think of, is going to a tarot association. And I know America has a tarot association, Germany has one, and get like officially tested and judged by the people who run the association. And I don't know how they do it in America, but in Germany, what comes with that is you can get a mentor, someone from the Tarot Association, and you have about 1 year or so to study, and you can ask them any kinds of questions. They can help you. And then there are two parts to the test. One is where you are asked to give a reading, and it will either be like a real reading for one of the judges, or they will make up a fake story and they just want to see how you read, and you know what kind of things that you would say, how you get a feeling for the person sitting across from you, these kinds of things. And also if you know the card meanings, and if you can do this freestyle, or if you would be dependent on a book or something. So that is something. You also have to decide which system you want to use. If you want to do Marseille or Thoth or RWS, that you have to kind of decide at the beginning of your journey. And then that is one test. And the second one, you have to write a 20-page essay about a tarot topic of your choice. And that will also be judged. And when you go through that, then when you pass, they will give you your certification, and then you can call yourself a tarot reader certified by the Tarot Association, for example. And I guess that would be the most valuable certificate that you can get, because everything else is, I guess, from private tarot readers that offer courses. And I'm sure there's like a lot of brilliant courses out there. Unfortunately, they're not as well recognized unless someone has like a lot of credentials, and like they've been doing that for a while and they've got really good reviews. Then, that might make it a little bit more valuable in a way. But otherwise, yeah, there's no real way of getting that diploma. It's hard to get started, but once you get several 5-star reviews, word of mouth, repeat clients are good. Yeah, the word of mouth is definitely good. I have a Hay House certification, but it's worthless. Hay House. Was that from She Who Shall Not Be Named? If you know what I'm talking about? Because that was also one thing. I know that back then when she did her angel courses and her oracle stuff and everything, a lot of people got those certifications, but when she switched sides to Christianity and suddenly everything tarot and oracle was of the devil, what did people do with those certifications? Like, did they even mean anything anymore? I don't know if you're talking about her, but yeah, that's also the kind of thing. I guess from the Tarot Association, since there's multiple people involved in the association, that is like a different thing. And of course, some people retire, new people come in, but the association stays the same pretty much. She was with that publishing company, but no, it's not anything to do with that. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate when some of those certifications, you put a lot of time and energy in, and then for some reason, something goes tits up, and, what do you do with that? That is very sad. But that's where, like, online reviews and everything can help and, establish you as someone that does a good job, can be trusted. I think that's the most important thing, that the people who come to us, that they trust us, whether that like we're completely hitting the nail on the head, or like even we might miss the mark, or we see something that to them might not be as important, or like we're talking about something that they don't really want to know, so they might ignore that, whatever kind of thing the situation is, but I guess it's more about the whole trust and how they feel with us, because at the end of the day, it's a personal relationship that we have with these people. And yeah, if they trust us, of course they will think of us differently. If they're like, nah, this is, then of course it will leave a bitter taste in anyone's mouth. And another thing that, like I've already mentioned, we fall probably into the category of perfectionism, is that, yeah, we want to be as perfect as we can be, I guess, because we're giving life advice. People come to us to, they come in a position when they have questions. They want to make a decision, and they turn to us to get assistance with decisions. So, of course, we have a certain sense of responsibility when it comes to helping them figure things out. Of course, we can't tell them what to do. At the end of the day, they have to make those choices for themselves. But we want to be helpful in a way that we can guide them to making the best decisions for themselves, so that they can figure out, okay, this is what my head is telling me, this is what my heart is telling me, this is what my gut is telling me. Which one do I go with? And we're just assisting them in becoming more confident in making their own decisions. We're not presenting them the answer on a silver platter and it's like, this is what you have to do and nothing else. That's not what a legit tarot reader would do. But yeah, we want to help them help themselves. And in that, we still have this drive of wanting to be as perfect as we can be. Kyle Gray, Colette Baron Reed, Riley Valentine, Denise Lynn, and a few others taught the classes on tarot. Oh yeah, these are all names that are well known, of course. I like to explain to them that it's like a weather forecast. I'm just telling them the conditions. If they take an umbrella with them or not, it's up to them. Ooh, that's a very good metaphor. I'll have to remember that one. But yeah, at the end of the day, we do not make the decisions for them. And it's not future prediction. It's more self-empowerment and, giving them the confidence to do what they think is best for them. At least for me, the way that I read is not in a predictive way. Of course, I can if I feel called to that. And like a lot of the online readings that we do, like the free readings on YouTube, for example, are going into the predictive category. But those are the free readings, and yeah, they're for entertainment purposes. But when I do a reading where someone puts money in my hand and, comes to me for advice, I want to make that reading as helpful as possible. And so I don't do yes or no questions. I don't want to do future predicting stuff. I want to look at the here and now. And I'm coming from a place of, okay, this is how we got here. So kind of looking more into the past and analyzing, okay, what even brought us to this place today? And then showing options. And then the person can decide, okay, what do I do with this? But I want to empower them to make the best decisions for themselves. That's my main goal with all of this. Okay. Another thing that gives us imposter syndrome, especially in the world of social media, is comparison. But we know comparison is the thief of joy, and I always forget who said that. But we have so many, like thousands and thousands of other tarot readers on all the social platforms. And it is easy to fall into the whole comparison thing where you see, oh, so-and-so has however many subscribers and they must be doing something better than I am because I don't have that subscriber number, whatever. So falling into that trap of, thinking, okay, whatever they do, I must do that too if I want to be successful. But no, each and every single tarot reader that we have on social media, they bring something, not just on social media in general, they bring something individual to the plate because we are all shaped by our experiences and how we learn tarot. Everything, like our life experiences, things that we learned, everything that shaped us will kind of design how we do the tarot readings. And so it is not a matter of comparing yourself to others. It's just like, okay, how can I be a tarot reader that is of service in a way? Like, at least that's my drive behind it. I want to be of service. And I do watch other tarot readers, and I do that to learn from them because everyone has a different perspective on like how they use the cards, how they read, different spreads, things that they do. Some combine it with astrology, some with charms, with runes, with crystals, with angel messages, with numerology, you name it. There's so many things. And it is good to look at others, maybe for a sense of inspiration, but not to copy them because you want to be your own. You're your own niche. You want to stand out, especially if you want to do this as a business. Don't copy anyone else because it's not really gonna get you anywhere. Okay, so where was I in the chat? I don't do health questions. I don't do spy on other people for them. Yeah, that's a very important thing to say in the beginning. Just as there are different restaurants which offer different menus, there are different tarot readers for people who need different things. Exactly. I mean, there's a million French restaurants in the world. Maybe not a million, but and everyone, like, they have different cooks and it tastes different everywhere. Lady Blind Wolf is here. Hi, thanks for being here. And Karen is here. Thanks for being here. Okay. So, yeah, comparing ourselves to others isn't really helpful. That just sometimes ends up with us feeling bad about ourselves, and we don't want that. No. So, how can we overcome something like imposter syndrome? Going back to the whole childhood thing, something that we have experienced and why we fall into this whole imposter syndrome in the first place is how we learned to see ourselves based on how we were judged by others. So it starts with, for example, the parents. And if we happen to be in a family environment where nothing is ever good enough and, the expectations are really high, whether it's, like in kindergarten, your first finger paintings, you're not being evaluated based on the fact that you enjoy doing it, but they actually criticize your artwork or like your macaroni glue art or I don't know, whatever, or whether you're good at sports or I don't know, whatever instrument you want to play, anything like that. We're usually not encouraged to simply enjoy it and try our best. A lot of times we're measured in terms of success, meaning we have to be nearly perfect. So if you do something, do it right. And that stays with us into adulthood. And then when we're not getting this, I'm not talking about fake recognition, I'm talking about like actually being noticed for at least even trying, even if we're not that good. But the fact that we stick with something, that should be worth something, right? And so it's at least putting effort into it. That is the thing that I think should be judged more than the actual outcome, because not everybody is good at everything. And, we have certain talents and we do all these things to figure out what we're actually good at. And I think that process is far more important to figure out, what we actually want to do, where our strengths and weaknesses are, instead of being actually judged if we're not really good at something. Like even in school, we have things that we're really good at. Some people are really good at math and they will get really good grades, and they might be really bad at, I don't know, cooking class or something. And some people are really good at sports, but they're not good at languages or something. So we do have individual talents, and yeah, and we should celebrate that instead of beating us ourselves up and letting others talk down to us in terms of, oh, you're not good at this and you'll never be good at this, and why don't you just give it up? And this negative talk affects us in the way that we will do that to ourselves. We will start believing those things, and then we will say, yeah, I'm just not good enough. And it will not just be about one thing. Eventually we will feel that way about almost everything. And this will also be in terms of tarot, like, yeah, I'm just not good enough. And this will even hinder people from even taking the step to, doing readings for others, always doubting themselves. This whole yeah, self-doubt is not helpful, not for you, not for other people. So like the purple lights. Oh, yeah, got my lights on. Mm, agreed. Also, talents have different timelines of developments too. Yeah, some people take a little bit longer to get started. Some, they get it at the first try, you know, those people. This is where I suggest journaling. Keeping track of accuracy of readings and going back to read can be incredibly validating for someone struggling with confidence. Yes, that's one of the things I wanted to mention. Even though constructive criticism, it really wore down on me when training vocally. Yeah. And here's a story of praising someone goes wrong. So when I was about 19, 20 or so, um, my mom, she had this boss, and that lady had a kid, a girl. I think she was 7 at the time when I met her, 7 or 8. And this kid was constantly showered with praise. Even though my mom and we could see a lot of things that this kid was doing wrong, as in not doing it right, like whether it was how she treated animals, or that, you know, things were just overlooked that were obviously wrong. And no matter what happened, this kid could do no wrong. She was an absolute angel, and she was showered with all this praise, so much so that, of course, she started to believe it. She started to see herself as someone whose stuff smelled like roses and who could walk on water, and whatever she touched, she was good. Like those people that you see on the like the talent shows, when they sing and you can hear that they're horrible, and then the judges tell them, no, you have no talent for this, and then they say, but my family and my friends, they all tell me that I have such a beautiful voice. That kind of false praise. So that's what happened to this kid. And fast forward, this kid being an adult, constantly having been showered with these false praises, turned out to be a complete monster, because when then at some point she was supposed to, go to school, and the mother paid for it, but then she skipped classes and all that. And she decided to be unemployed, and she wanted the mom to pay for her lifestyle. And then the mother said no. You know what happened? The kid slapped the mom across the face and told her to just cough up the money. That's what happened. So that's a very far extreme of where this can go. So this is the other end of the spectrum. But yeah, it is really important how we get judged, how we see ourselves, and all that stuff, to have a healthy sense of self. So it is good to question things, but we have to learn to do it in a healthy way. Where was I? Definitely not that kind of mom. Yeah, like that she, I guess, as soon as the daughter was an adult and all that, she started regretting things, but it was too late. The damage was done. Yeah, balance, definitely. Yeah, when my mom told me that story, That was something, and I was like, "Well, that's what you get. We warned you. You didn't wanna listen." Sip, sip. So, yeah, this can take dimensions that you can't even foresee. Okay, another thing that might cause this whole imposter syndrome for us as tarot readers is that we might not really trust our own intuition. And that is something that we can also learn and foster by just practicing more and more. And even in everyday life stuff, we all have the gut feeling. And it will be like our spidey senses. It will be a warning system. It will tell us, okay, this person seems kind of shady, don't trust them. Or, hey, this person's really nice. I'm gonna, give them a try and then get to know them, all that kind of stuff. Or, like we have this intuition in us, but there are people that really don't trust that because they might have been taught that this is not a measure to go by, that you actually need scientific proof of something, which doesn't really help with tarot. So, learning to trust your intuition is also a good step in trying to overcome or work on the imposter syndrome. Yeah, I dare to say they might have lacked praise as a child. Yeah, well, that kid was praised a lot, and she, like, knowing the other generation, like the mom of the mom, she was also kind of that way, but I guess, since there was also a father around, that whole single parent household, that's a different, trauma in and of itself, speaking from experience. So, yeah, there's so much to unpack with all of that. So, yeah, but we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole right now. Excuse me. So, what can we do? One thing is to reprogram our mind, because that is something that we can actually do. We know this with affirmations and manifestations. If you say something often enough, you will believe it. So if people can program your mind in a negative way by constantly feeding you negative stuff, you can reprogram your mind by feeding yourself the positive stuff, telling yourself, I am worthy of whatever. I am a good reader. I know the material. I have learned this. I understand this. I am capable of doing these things. We can reprogram our mind. This is a computer and it will do whatever you want it to do. You just, have to activate it in that sense. And that is a way where we're usually not really aware of all the things that we're capable of. But yeah, the neuro linguistic programming, that's a thing. And however you speak to yourself, if you constantly tell yourself, oh, that's never going to work out, or I'm never going to get this job, or whatever, you start to believe it. So there is this thing of like speaking things into existence. And that is not just the $1 million in the lottery. It's as simple as, I'm capable of doing this. I got this. I can do this. I trust myself. These things are also speaking something into existence, mainly confidence. So it's not just all about the, oh, I'm manifesting $1 million or something. No, it starts with believing in yourself. That's the most important thing. Ah, I can see that too. Gotcha. A huge belief of mine. Yeah. Like the brain is something like and I've realized this too, like coming out of 12 years of domestic abuse and being in survival mode for so long, my brain shifted to certain things being important and other things were, pushed to the side, filed in a different cabinet as not important right now. And eventually that cabinet was pushed more and more to the back, which kind of leads to forgetting things. And then when you try to access those files again, it's like entering a dark room and you really have to find the light switch first in order to find the cabinets and then find the key to open them and then also remember how to read them. So the whole brain, like how it works, is really interesting. And I can see this in myself, how I'm like coming out of survival mode and moving back into productive mode. The first thing that I had to, or like that I tried to relearn in a way, is creativity. Because when you're only thinking about fight or flight and, all that kind of stuff, creativity is the last thing on your mind. Like you do not care about like being creative and stuff. So that's why even in my job, I was basically just on autopilot. I knew what to do and what was expected of me, and I did the bare minimum. And just in order to get my paycheck, I showed up, I did the work, but the whole joy that I had in the beginning and, wanting to be creative and trying new things and all that, that got all pushed away by the thought of, ugh, at the end of this workday, I have to go home again and I'm in that situation again. And then even 2 years of home office completely killed the whole creativity thing. So I'm really learning myself to rewire my brain in certain ways so that I can be creative again, so that I have joy in wanting to be creative and, thinking about other things and, just like renovating that room and thinking of, okay, how am I going to do that? How am I going to set up the furniture in a way that makes sense? It's those very basic things that I never even thought that like all that goes on in there. Like it's amazing. It's scary to think about, but it's also amazing. And finding my way back to what I think is me is an interesting journey. It's not always easy, and um there's a lot of tears involved, like coming out of that and everything. But that's a different topic. But yeah, rewiring the brain, it works, but it takes time. And here's my cat, but you can't see her. Hi. Okay. Um, where was I? I need to hear that again right on time. Thank you. You're welcome. Me too. I'm even channeling my pain into creativity by writing and found a huge release. Yeah. Sometimes I was journaling, sometimes I could do that. But in all of this, also tarot has been a huge help for me. Like tarot helped me uh, find things about me that I might have ignored, because tarot was the unapologetic mirror in front of me, and there's no escape from the mirror. Like, yeah, you can close your eyes, but it's still there. It's still you. So, yeah. Okay, so something that has already been mentioned was the journaling, and that is something that I also did in the beginning when I was a new reader. I would write down every reading that I did. So I would write down the name of the person, the date, sometimes even the moon phase, and then I would write down the cards. And I would always like do the Celtic cross in the beginning, so it was just the numbers 1, 2, 10, and I would just write down the cards, nothing much else, because in those times back then, I knew the people. They were like friends and family, and so I didn't need to take a lot of notes because I could then go back, just look at the cards and kind of figure out how the story played out to see if it was, you know, on on the mark or not. And a lot of times, like it was, right on the mark, hit the nail on the head. And so that also gave me that confidence in myself as a reader, and that I was actually capable of doing things. And sometimes it also helped me to see if I might have misread a card. And so going back and looking at the cards again and like, oh, so that's what that meant, which also helped me in learning all the ways that the cards can play out. Just because they have like specific keywords and meanings, it's also the way of learning how the cards interact with each other, that we then see, okay, if I have like a 3-card spread, for example, and I try to tie them together to the bigger picture thing, and sometimes that bigger picture will not unfold until a little bit later where you know what it actually means. And so looking back at those readings, it's very interesting to then see how it actually happens and to then go back and it's like, oh, that's what that was. And so that will then be in my memory. For example, the Tower card for the longest time has been a card of divorce for me. So when I would get that card in a love reading for someone, I would be like, do I want to say that out loud? Because that was like one of the first readings that I did. And then the Tower card came up and it actually did mean divorce. That was the meaning. So yeah, it's like those cards or those journaling experiences really help in getting to know yourself as a reader as well, how you read, what you see, what you miss. So these things are really good. Where was I? We have to do what we need to in order to avoid burnout. Oh, that's another thing. At our shop, we're in our busy season, and I find myself dreading looking at my schedule. 30 tarot appointments in 3 days is a lot. Girl, that is a lot. Stay hydrated. Oh my God. Yeah. I hope you get some breaks in between. Them. The Celtic cross is a bit of a nemesis. Thanks to cats, I just have to look at the questions from a spread and always have used several cards. One card just doesn't seem to give me enough of what I need for a reading. Yeah. Well, I sometimes surprise myself how much I can see in one single card, but for the most part, I do more than one card. I like to break the Celtic cross into sub-questions, like what exactly about the situation will this card position tell me, etc., if that makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, technically, theoretically, you could take every single position of the Celtic cross and do like a separate spread with that as the prompt, you know. I do that before shuffling and dealing. Okay. Yeah, that is a good problem to have though as a tarot reader. Um, but still, it sounds like a lot because I mean, if every reading is, I don't know, half an hour, because I know that like when I do readings, they can get up to the 45 minutes pretty quickly. And yeah, like an hour is not difficult to do when you're in it. So yeah. And talking about clients, like one thing that also gets us into this whole imposter thing is, yeah, dealing with clients' expectations, also our own expectations, but mostly the client's expectations. And this is where boundaries come in. So managing the client's expectations, like we've already had in the chat, stating your boundaries from the beginning. So saying that, for example, no medical questions, no financial questions or legal questions. I personally, I don't do yes or no questions. So I want to have like rephrase your question that either starts with what, how, or why. Like those are the kinds of questions that I can answer where I feel that I can be of service. And of course, I can look into connections you have with other people. But when it comes to the third party readings, I'm not going to pick up on what that other person is thinking about you or whatever. The thing that I'm going to see in the cards, and this is what I found out through experience, is I'm going to read the stuff that you already know deep down inside based on your interactions with the person, you know, body language and tone of voice and all these things. And that's most likely what I'm going to pick up on. So the connection that you have up to that person, but not what they necessarily think and see in you. So I guess I can read the connection. So that's what I can do. And making that very clear from the beginning means that the person I'm reading for will know exactly what they get from me. And this also helps, like, in the readings that I offer, I have them grouped into different categories. So I will say exactly, so in a shadow work reading, this is what you'll get from me, or this is a love reading, so I can help you with this. So I have them grouped into different categories, and then people can book whatever they want according to the topic. And then I also know what to do. So we're managing the expectations from the get-go. And also, um, time frame, telling the client, okay, this is going to be a very quick reading, we're just going to do 3 cards and that's it. Because if they expect like an entire hour to analyze their entire life and then it's just a quick reading, there's also going to be disappointment and all that kind of stuff, which will leave a bad taste for us because we feel like, okay, maybe we should have explained the rules a little bit better. So all of these, like managing the expectations, is very important to have a good experience, because at the end of the day, all of this is more an experience than anything else. And the people might not necessarily remember everything that you say for each card, but they will remember what kind of experience they had with you. If they felt understood, if they felt heard, if they, felt that you got them in the place that they were and you were guiding them towards something helpful to them, that is what they will remember, and that is why they will come back or not come back. Where was I? Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Yeah, all those readings. But I don't want to even look back at home. Oh, I get that. Tarot overwhelm. And here's my cat screaming. Don't tell me anything so you can test my psychic abilities. Yeah, I don't do yes or no either. Our job is to empower, not to box something into a definite outcome. Yeah, I don't think that yes or no is really helpful at all. Yes, I hear you, and everyone can too. Your food is in the kitchen. Your food is there. Um, I'm like, okay, yeah, well, enjoy your vague reading from not talking to me. I love that. I tell them that approaching a reading without any questions is like dumping puzzle pieces on the table and trying to put it together without seeing the picture on the puzzle box. Exactly. That is a very good thing. I may have to steal some of your sayings here because they're really good. You're on point here. You're on fire. It reminds me of a quote. They remember the feeling, not always what was said or done. Yeah. Like even with people, a lot of times, like the way that people decide if they like you or not, it's not what you say, it's how you say it and how that makes them feel. Oh, there's fireworks. Sorry, squirrel. Someone's doing fireworks. I don't know why. It's not any particular holiday. Easter is not for another 2 weeks or so. Yes. Want to say hi to everyone. Come make a quick appearance. This is Artemis, little diva. Now I've got cat hair everywhere. Shouldn't have done that. Something like that, paraphrase. Yeah. So, yeah, setting boundaries in all of this in order to manage the expectations is a very, very important thing. Yeah. She can be cute, but she's also been a little wild these past days, like even sitting next to me and having that very specific meow that's like very demanding. And then if I don't understand her and I don't do what she says, she starts biting me. She's done that for 2 days in a row. I'm sorry, I just have the cat hair now. It's like everywhere. So I don't know what's up with that. Ever since her brother is gone, she's different. Definitely true. Sometimes people just need to be seen and reminded that their power over situations. I hug every one of them who lets me. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's I mean, the people who come to tarot readings that really want advice or that, believe in the fact that tarot has something to offer, they're going to listen. And those, I think, are the people that we can really work with. The skeptics are difficult. They might get something from the reading, but then again, if they're just coming there to be like, "Oh, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like I'm going to prove that this is just some scam or whatever." They're also not really going to get a good experience out of it. They might even be a little bit peeved at the end of it when they didn't get to prove you wrong. So, yeah, I guess for me, I just try to do the best that I can. Of course, I also have bad days where my readings might be a bit all over the place, and sometimes I have the squirrel brain, and sometimes I might not even recognize it until I'm in the reading, and then I'm like, "Ah, shit, I gotta get through this somehow now." But I always get to the topic at hand, and I try to give the best advice that I can. And yeah, sometimes I have those moments when after the reading, I think, oh, I wish I would have said that. Oh, damn, I missed that. And, that will happen. But that's because we're human. We're not machines. If someone wanted a perfect, perfect reading, then maybe they should just use AI, as many people do these days. But we're human. We're not machines. We're fallible. We have all these things about us. And I think that makes it more valuable to me. Of course, I can always turn to AI. I can use whatever app or platform, whatever, for reading. But is that really going to help me? I think the thing for me that makes it so valuable in like when I go to another reader is also when they ask me questions. An AI would not do that. They would just give me the reading and that's it. But when someone asks me questions, even the simple question of, "Are you okay?" That just makes it all the more valuable. And if I'm able to give that to someone as well, then I don't think I have to worry too much about the imposter syndrome and making sure that I am able to recite every single meaning of every card in front of me. It's really more about giving them something that is helpful to them, like the person that I'm reading for. Uh, yeah, we have that. Yeah, gotta love them. What's the weather and the seasons changing? They tend to get a bit out of sorts. Yeah. I mean, she's 11 now, so hmm, I don't know, maybe age has something to do with it. Maybe they also get kind of cranky the older they get. Hmm. What's funny is that often the ones who give no feedback in person or seem closed off will come back and give the 5-star reviews. I think the reading was bland, but they love it. Interesting. Interesting. I get my best insight sometimes. I even ask myself questions out loud. Yeah. Oh, that's another thing that I have to do with going back to the whole brain fog thing. If I don't say it out loud, I even forget it. So if I want to remember something, I either have to say it out loud or I have to tell it to someone or I have to write it down. So brain fog is a thing. And it's not just an age thing, it's a brain thing. Most certainly, Ozark, they need time to marinate on it. Yeah. And even the readers, like for me, I find that too. Like sometimes I'm able to remember some stuff that I said in a reading. Most of the times, as soon as the reading is done, I forget it. But sometimes there are some things that I remember, and I'm like, yeah, that was actually, I think that was a helpful thing. Maybe I should say something like that more often. So I even like at least review the experience for me, not necessarily every single card and what I said, but like the experience of what I said, how I said it to get better. Hmm. Yeah. And, one thing that is also good to know is that imposter syndrome is something that even the best of us, all of us, like it's a universal thing. Well, I don't want to talk for the whole universe, but at least on this planet, we have imposter syndrome. And that even someone like Albert Einstein, who was a genius, and I'm sure, I mean, I don't want to assume, but I guess even someone like Stephen Hawking, for example, would have imposter syndrome at some point. And that's because we just want to do a good job. So we just, we want to contribute something, and we don't want to end up like that kid who slaps the mom just because she didn't get the money. So, yeah. So we're at the hour now. This is a really interesting topic, and I guess there's so much more to dive into, especially in terms of psychology and, how to work on all of this. And I guess the thing that I take away from this today is that it's not just important to treat others with kindness, but to also treat ourselves in a very kind way. Because we're all going through stuff, we all have life to deal with, and we can't just wait for other people to say a kind word to us. We need to be kind to ourselves as well. That's very important. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. So, with that being said, it's important to remind ourselves that we likely know more about tarot, or at least we know different things about tarot than those who trust us with the readings. Yeah. I mean, most of us have done this for a number of years. And the one thing I think that we all have in common is that we enjoy learning more, because tarot is a never ending story. Like, there's not, you read one book and then you know all the meanings and then you're good to go and you never need to learn anything else. Especially nowadays with so many books coming out and also social media, the internet, everything, there's constantly new things to learn. And I'm so grateful for that. This is not a stagnation project. This is like an ongoing thing. And yeah, so enjoying the process, I think that's what keeps me going. That I can find joy in all of this. Joy in learning stuff, joy in, trying out different things. And yeah, that I think is the best way to look at this. Okay. Thanks for being here. Yes, my hubs is like, how do you not know enough yet? We will never be able to know everything. Never. There's always a new perspective, always a new way of doing things. Someone will invent something new. And I mean, it's like with cooking. There's no way of ever knowing everything about cooking. Someone will invent some new stuff. I mean, 100 years ago, would you have ever imagined, after like people being able to cook for so many centuries and stuff, that someone would invent something like fusion stuff and like these little cubes that have food taste in them? Like, I don't know what you call that, but like all these different kinds of things that people do now with food, we would have never imagined. Or having an air fryer and do all these things. So yeah, learning never stops. It's an ongoing thing. And I'm grateful that I'm able to do that. So thank you everyone who was here today. And if you're watching this back and you want to share your experience with imposter syndrome, do it in the comments section. I love hearing about other tarot readers' experiences. And as always, have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. Take care, and